Good morning and welcome to the February edition of the Center for Biomedical and Minority Health Research Community Engagement Core Seminar. Today we will be talking about turning the tides, preventive measures, in heart disease and stroke. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. I want to make sure that y'all can hear me. If you can, just put a yes in the chat box so that I know that you can hear me. Awesome. Okay, I have a couple that can hear me, but I have one that cannot hear. You couldn't hear the video. The video was not playing correctly. Okay, I apologize. So in a nutshell, the video was letting y'all know that the Center for Biomedical and Minority Health Research is based at Texas Southern University here in Houston, Texas, and is funded by RCMI, which is the Research Center for Minority Institutions from the National Institutes for Health. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. Please do remain muted throughout the presentation. There will be a question and answer session at the end. But if you're anything like me, you'll have a question and then you may forget it by the end of the session. So please post your questions in the chat box during the presentation and we will definitely come back to it at the end. Okay. We want to thank our partnering agency for today, Wharton County Junior College. We appreciate them partnering with us to make today's program a success. The Dawn Center, the Diabetes Awareness and Wellness Network, and I have a little video explaining what the Dawn Center does. Hopefully this one will play properly, but please let me know if it doesn't.
I don't think the volume is working on the video.
Then we're willing to do whatever it takes. Here on the Diabetes Awareness and Wellness Network, we offer free programming and services to those diagnosed with and at risk for diabetes. I come here, it's like I come home. Are y'all able to hear it? We all want to be healthy, feel good, and function better. Our health is the foundation of all our goals, dreams, and all that we value most. But too often, you don't realize just how important your health is until you lose it and when crisis hits. Then we're willing to do whatever it takes to gain our health back. Here on the Diabetes Awareness and Wellness Network, we offer free programming and services to those diagnosed with and at risk for diabetes. I come here, it's like I come home.
Well, they're very supportive, you know, and if I have any concerns, they will help me out with any concern. And that helps a lot, especially when you live by yourself. So it's been very helpful. Out there, people need a lot of help. So there are people that have diabetes and they don't even know they have it. And that's why so many people are in a lot of trouble, health trouble. I learned how to live right, put more attention to my health, and be more active also. Because when I came, I was like almost 300 pounds. So it's been hard, but it's been great because they're very supportive.
Dawn members enjoy a full one-stop shop for diabetes and wellness education. Provide lifestyle enhancement to improve disease management and quality of life. Active living, healthy eating, self-management, health connection, health coaching, and community engagement. Enrollment is free, so become a Dawn member today and take control of your future.
End of our presentation today, there will be a link in the chat box, and that link will entitle the first 10 attendees to complete it to receive a gift card. So please pay attention at the end to be able to get information on how to obtain that gift card. All right, so today we have great things planned for you. We have our guest speaker, Dr. Ellis Morrow, who is a dietitian and a professor at Texas Southern University. And when he is done with his presentation, we will have a live meal demonstration where Chef Shonah Jefferson will teach us how to make something healthy and nutritious, and she will actually show us and demonstrate how to do it. So I always look forward to adding things to my repertoire of meals that I make for my family. So I am really looking forward to that. Let me tell you a little bit more about Dr. Morrow. Dr. Morrow is an assistant professor and the director of the Didactic program in Dietetics at the College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences here at TSU. He is a member of the editorial board of the Journal of Renal Nutrition, the Diversity and Inclusion Liaison for the Renal Practice Group of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is an accredited reviewer for the Accreditation Council for Education in Nutrition and Dietetics. He is also a member of the National Kidney Foundation's Health Equity Advisory Committee. His research interests include energy expenditure, obesity, and sleep apnea and chronic kidney disease. We are honored to have you with us today, Dr. Morrow. I'm going to stop sharing my slides and turn it over to you.
Good morning. And we want to thank you, Dr. Indefo, and we want to thank the CBMHR and the wonderful programs that you're doing and these wonderful opportunities we have to engage with each other to discuss such important topics as the topic that we're discussing this morning, heart disease. So I'm going to share my slides so that we can get into the presentation. But I'm glad that we're discussing this topic. It's early in the year. It's February, almost March. Spring is coming, you know, and a lot of new things happen in spring. You know, a lot of growth happens in spring. The sun is more shiny. The sun shines more and the weather gets better. So now's a very good time to start talking about preventing heart disease with good nutrition. So as Dr. Ndefo told you, I am a registered dietitian. I've been a registered dietitian for 20 years. I have experience in a number of areas, but the areas that I probably have the most experience is weight management, obesity management. I own a small obesity management practice where I help patients get to a more healthy weight. I've also been in kidney disease related nutrition for 20 years now, and there's several things that are major issues in kidney disease. That's obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. So I have dealt with these things my entire career, and I've dealt with heart disease my entire career. So let's begin by talking about some facts. about heart disease. Heart disease is the leading cause of death among African Americans, and that's across the board. You know, all ages, all groups, if we look at the leading cause of death. And it's also the leading cause of death among Americans. Now, according to the United States Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Minority Health, African Americans are 30% more likely to die from heart disease, okay, than non-Hispanic whites. African Americans are 40% more likely to have high blood pressure, and they're less likely to control the high blood pressure. If I was to ask you right now, you know, and if you don't want to, you don't have to, but if you have a family member with heart disease, you know, you can post it in the chat, or if you have a family member with high blood pressure, you can post it in the chat. If you have a family member who have poorly controlled high blood pressure, you can post that in the chat too. But here's just some facts for us to know about heart disease. And women are 60% more likely. African American women are 60% more likely to have high blood pressure than the non-Hispanic Caucasians. Okay, so why is diet important? Why is it? Why do we focus so much on diet? You know, there was a famous physician who once said, if the doctors of today don't become the nutritionists of tomorrow, the nutritionists of today will be the doctors of tomorrow, right? So why is nutrition so important? And why is eating so important? Here's some things to know about diet and lifestyle. A healthy lifestyle may prevent this in terms of heart disease. Over 80% of sudden cardiac deaths. I want you to think of everybody that you know who's had a heart attack. Some of you may have had family members to pass away from heart attacks. I've had a number of friends who passed away from heart attacks. And I have a very close friend who recently had a triple bypass surgery. So this is something that we've seen in our lives, and some of us may have experienced a heart attack before. But sudden deaths from or sudden cardiac deaths, diet and lifestyle can improve that by 80%. You can also prevent 72% of premature deaths, right? So in other words, heart disease takes us, unfortunately, heart disease causes us to die younger, okay, premature. So good diet, healthy lifestyle can decrease or reduce around 72% of premature death. Also 50% of strokes. You know, strokes are debilitating. Strokes lead to disabilities. Stroke leads to mental impairments and physical impairments. And I've known a lot of people that have suffered from strokes, and strokes significantly decrease your quality of life. So a good diet and healthy lifestyle can decrease strokes by 50%. Two other things that are directly related to heart disease are obesity and diabetes. So having a healthy diet and healthy lifestyle can decrease diabetes. And if you have diabetes, you know, I had a client who first was diagnosed with high blood sugar in 2013. And that client started to exercise. He lost around 50 pounds. He started to eat right. And it was 2013 when his blood sugar was first high. He was diagnosed this year with diabetes. So that means for 9 years, he held the progression of diabetes at bay by having a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle. And he came in and out. Sometimes it was very healthy, sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes he gained weight and lost weight, but he was able to keep his A1C, which is a laboratory measure that you use to see how well your blood sugar is being controlled. He was able to control the progression of his diabetes for 9 years, just with diet and exercise alone. And the other is obesity. Obesity is directly related to heart disease. As a matter of fact, I run an obesity management clinic where we see patients who are sleep apneic. They come into us because of their sleep apnea, which in itself causes some other issues with the heart. But heart disease is directly related to obesity, and a good diet, healthy lifestyle can help manage obesity. Now, it's not that simple in terms of if I just change a few things in my diet, then I'm going to lose a significant amount of weight. But it is a holistic process to where you start looking at your lifestyle and you make lifestyle changes, and those lifestyle changes will gradually lead to weight loss and a healthy lifestyle. So now we suffer from portion distortion, and I want you to look at the changes, you know, and some of you may remember in 1960, the average portions at a fast food restaurant is on the left. And in 2011, the average portion sizes at fast food restaurants are on the right. So an average meal in 1960, a fast food meal, was 415 calories. In 2011, the average fast food meal was 1,400 calories. That means that between 1960 and 2011, the average fast food meal increased by almost 1,000 calories. That's almost as much as some of us need in a whole day. Okay, some of us probably need around 1,200 calories in a whole day. So that change is significant. And pounds, if we think about it in pounds, and there's some things that make it a little bit more complicated than it's presented here. But if we think about it in pounds, in general, 1 pound equals 500 calories per day. Okay. So in general, it's thought that if I can decrease my intake by 500 calories per day, I can potentially lose 1 pound per week, right? Now, if we just look at this meal is 1,000 calories more in one meal. And if we were to multiply that out over a week, that would be 7,000 calories over a week. And that's about enough to make 2 pounds worth of fat. Okay, so if we think about that, how portions have changed and how our perceptions of portion has changed, and we can understand the importance of I have another slide down the road. We can understand the importance of controlling portion sizes. One of the most important things for us to do is control portion sizes. Eat less, don't eat so much. Sodium. We want to look at sodium. Now, sodium comes in many different forms. So when you're reading the food label, you can look at the grams of sodium per serving. Okay. You want that to be as low as possible. And then you can also look for things in the ingredients that are sodium. Ingredients are always listed in order of weight. So the higher something is on the ingredient, in the list of ingredients, the more of it is in that product. So if you think about things, these are some other things that are known as sodium: monosodium glutamate, sodium citrate, sodium sulfite, sodium caseinate, sodium benzoate, sodium hydroxide, disodium phosphate. So all these things are things to look for. Now, sodium increases blood pressure and potassium decreases blood pressure. So the more sodium we eat, the higher our blood pressure is. The higher our blood pressure is, the higher our risk for cardiac events are. Okay, so we have to watch the salt. A few things that you can do is don't use salt in your foods, and we'll get to some spices later. And then I know that Chef Jefferson has some very nice spices and things like that that she's going to share with you. Unfortunately, I'm not a chef. Now, I cook. I'm a dietitian and I cook. And I modify my preparation methods to make my meals more healthy, but I'm not a chef. So I look forward to hear what Chef Jefferson has to say for us later on today. So when you're looking at foods, look for these things in the ingredients. Okay. Now, another principle is eat more fruits and vegetables. Okay. Now, if you look at the slide, you see all the different colors. When you think about fruits and vegetables, so now the general rule of thumb is that you want to consume 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Of 1 piece of fruit. So you see like that tomato or that peach that's on my slide, that's 1 serving. Or that apple, that's 1 serving. Another way to look at it is a half of a cup. A half of a cup of most fruits and vegetables are a serving, unless they're leafy vegetables. If they're leafy vegetables like spinach, like greens that are raw, it's a cup. If it's cooked, it's a half a cup. So now I just want you to think, usually when I'm teaching a class, or usually when I'm giving a public presentation, I ask the question, and that question is, how many of you eat 1 serving of vegetables or fruits and vegetables a day? Typically, a whole lot of hands will go up. I eat at least 1 serving. Then I'll ask, how many of you eat 2 servings? Fewer hands go up. How many of you eat 3 servings? Most of the time, when I'm giving a presentation and I get to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, there's very few people with their hands up. And by the time I get to 5 servings a day, almost no one has their hands up. So one of the things that we can do immediately, we can start doing tomorrow. One of the things that we can start doing tomorrow to decrease our risk for heart disease and prevent the progression of heart disease, if we already have it, or prevent developing heart disease, one thing I can start doing tomorrow is go out and eat more fruits and vegetables. Another principle with vegetables is to make your plate colorful. Certain vegetables have vitamins, are richer in certain vitamins and minerals. And you can tell this often by the color. So red and orange vegetables tend to be high, and fruits tend to be high in things called beta carotenes, which can be converted to vitamin A in the body. Green leafy vegetables tend to be very high in so many things, like potassium, like calcium, like iron, okay? And then green leafy vegetables and most vegetables are high in fiber. Fiber plays a very important role in terms of heart disease. So we want to eat more vegetables, and we also want to make our plates more colorful. Now think about the last time you had vegetables, okay? How are they prepared? When you're preparing your vegetables, you want to think about decreasing bad fats and decreasing salt and increasing good fats and increasing spices, okay? We live in a society now where we have calorie anxiety and we have food anxiety. You know, we're so scared to eat certain things. Understand that food is made to nourish the human body. Food is supposed to taste good, and we're supposed to enjoy food. We just want to make sure that we learn how to enjoy food in a way that's healthy and promotes heart health. Okay. Now, choose whole grains. Now, this is important. You know, many of our meals and many of our dishes include grain products. I know that there's a whole thing in society now about limiting carbohydrates, and some people are talking about getting rid of carbohydrates and things like that. But grains have been part of the human diet since man, started eating. So grains are a natural part of the human diet, and grains can be included in a very healthy way in the human diet. But the most healthy way to include them is with as minimal refinement as possible. So whenever you're buying any kind of grain product, cereal, rice, pasta, noodles, bread, try to get whole grain. Okay? And the first thing that should be listed in the ingredient of a grain product is whole grain. That's how you know it's a whole grain product. Okay. Now, if you're not able to use whole grain, then use enriched. But enriched is not as good as whole grain, because in whole grain, they haven't taken out a lot of the nutrition of it. Enriched, they took it out and added it back. Okay. Now, another thing that whole grain Whole grains are good for fibers. I mentioned fibers when I talked about vegetables, and I'm going to mention fibers again when I talk about grains. Now, in terms of heart disease, there's a certain kind of fiber called a soluble fiber. And this soluble fiber can actually soak up these substances in your stomach, not in your stomach, but in your small intestine, that breaks fat down. And this substance is called bile. I don't want to get too technical, but this substance is called bile, just so you know. And this substance breaks down fats in your small intestine. But this substance is made from cholesterol. So if you have high blood cholesterol, if you eat fibers, if you eat a variety of foods, if you eat whole grains, you're going to have some fiber in your diet that's soluble, and it's going to take some of that that substance that digests fat that's made from cholesterol. It's going to take it out of your body. And when it takes it out of your body has to pull from your cholesterol to make more of it. So in that way, fiber, especially soluble fiber, can decrease your cholesterol levels. Okay, so make sure that you're getting whole grains. If you get whole grains, you're gonna get some soluble fibers. If you eat plenty of vegetables, you're gonna get adequate fiber to help make you healthy. And then whole grains also have vitamins and minerals in them. Okay, and when you refine them, when you have a refined grain, you take those vitamins, many of those vitamins and minerals out. So if you eat the whole grain, you're gonna get the vitamins and minerals. All right, go easy on sugar and refined processed foods. Okay, now I know all those foods that are right there, they're delicious, they're tasty, they're high in sugar. You know, many of them are very high in fat, and we eat these things, you know. But in terms of heart disease, you know, especially if you're eating more than you need, right? So if you eat more food than your body needs to maintain itself, all of those sugars get converted into fats, and fat cells, the fat cells in our body, produce these chemicals that cause our body to get inflamed, and that inflammation then contributes to heart disease. Okay, so I'm not saying don't have desserts and things like that. Just be sensible when you eat them, and don't eat so many of them, especially in terms of preventing heart disease and preventing the progression of heart disease. Now, choose diets, choose desserts that are healthier. Now look at that cantaloupe. Doesn't that look pretty? It's a very beautiful cantaloupe with blackberries and raspberries and blueberries and mint. All these things are very healthy. They have different vitamins and minerals. That carrot is going to be very high. That cantaloupe is going to be very high in beta carotene. It's also going to be high in vitamin C. You can chill it to make it taste good. So choose your desserts, but choose different. Dessert doesn't always have to be a brownie or a hot fudge sundae. Dessert can be a fruit. It can be a chilled fruit. It can be a fruit salad. You know, these are naturally occurring sugars, you know, and there is a difference in terms of how these things affect your blood sugar, in terms of fruit, sugar that comes from donuts and sugar that comes from fruit. Okay, so it's beneficial for us in terms of controlling our risk for heart disease and controlling our weight that we choose fruits. Now, if you look at that cantaloupe, if I replace that, all that good fruit on top with ice cream and chocolate and candies, if instead of the blackberries and the blueberries and the raspberries, if there was M&Ms and M&Ms and marshmallows and brownie bites and cookie bites and things like that. It would be delicious and it will taste good, but it will give us a whole lot more fat and calories and sugar. Okay. Now, fat is not the enemy, but when you're consuming extra things, you should limit fats that are known to contribute to heart disease. All right, so choose healthier desserts. Limit the unhealthy fats, okay? Things like lard, butter, hot dogs, and bacon. Now, there are other fats like olive oil that are healthier fats. Your monounsaturated fats, olive oil being the most referenced, it can actually improve your cholesterol, not cause your cholesterol to go up. It can cause your cholesterol to go down, okay? And these fats that come from these refined processed foods, you get quite a bit of the fat, but you don't get the nutrition associated with it, okay? If I eat something that has naturally occurring fat like chicken or fish, beef, not as much beef, but beef, more chicken and fish, the fat that's in there is going to be associated with all the nutrition that's in chicken. Chicken is a good source of protein. Chicken is a good source of monounsaturated fat. Chicken has healthy fats. Chicken is a good source of potassium. French fries taste good, but they are not, they don't give you much nutrition. So I don't want you to see fat as the enemy. Fat is necessary for us. And fat is essential for us. We just tend to do too much fat and too much of certain types of fat, okay? So limit unhealthy fats, okay? So that's fats like butter, bacon, lard. Now, if you're gonna do it, okay, because I use butter and I healthily include butter in my diet. I don't overdo it, but butter is better than margarine, okay? Margarine is processed, it's hydrogenated, and it's not healthy for us, you know? It can contribute to the development of heart disease, right? So I'm not saying don't ever do lard, don't ever do butter, don't ever do bacon. Just don't make that the main fat you do. Enjoy those things in a sensible way. Use spices instead of salt. Spice it up. There's so many spices of different colors and different textures and flavors. They make your meals interesting. Okay, so here's a list of some spices that you can use in cooking: saffron, celery, red pepper, black pepper, cinnamon, turmeric, ginger, and some of these are also healthy medicinally. We know things like turmeric is known to be anti-inflammatory, and garlic is one that's not listed on here, but garlic is another spice. There's some of these are used as nutritional supplements to actually be anti-inflammatory. So spice it up, make your life spicy, add some spices to your life. Often we eat a lot of salt because we don't use enough spices, and the salt taste, you know, we taste the salt and the salt makes things taste a certain way. But if the more we use spices, the less we have to use salt. And then there is a brand called Mrs. Dash, and Mrs. Dash has 8 or 9 different types of seasoning, and they're all salt-free. So consider adding Mrs. Dash, okay? Low-fat dairy products. Now, sometimes, depending on your ethnic history and your family history, your genetic history, some of us are lactose intolerant because we lack the enzyme to break down dairy products. One of the main things we get from dairy products is calcium. So we can look at different sources of calcium. Green leafy vegetables are a source of calcium. They fortify a lot of things with calcium. So if we can't do dairy products, we can get We can get our calcium from other places. But when you do it, choose low fat. Now, again, this has to be balanced, right? If you're not eating a lot of saturated fat and you're not eating a whole lot of fatty foods, then the amount of fats that you eat in dairy may not be as big of an issue, okay? So you have to look at the whole diet. So these guidelines are based on the typical American diet, which is extremely high in fat and extremely high in processed foods, right? But the more balanced your diet is, if you're not eating a lot of fried foods, you might be able to do regular fat milk, okay? But these are just general guidelines for you to follow in your life. If you want specific advice, it's best for you to see a trained registered dietitian, credentialed professional. All right, so in summary, limit salt and sodium, limit sugar and refined processed foods, enjoy whole grains, enjoy fruits, enjoy vegetables, enjoy lean meats, proteins, and legumes. I didn't spend a lot of time talking about legumes, but legumes are wonderful to add to your diet. Legumes are a source of carbohydrate and they're a source of protein. Legumes are high in fiber, beans. So legumes mean beans, black beans, red beans, kidney beans, lima beans, pinto beans, whatever bean, great northern bean, garbanzo beans, whatever beans are part of your culture and that you eat often in your meals, you can include them. And so they're high in potassium. So beans are very, very good food to add. And then low fat dairy products, and enjoy your culture. Enjoy your culture, enjoy your cultural foods. And don't take the flavor out of your foods and don't take the enjoyment out of your food. Just look for more healthy ways to prepare your meals. And that's why I'm so wonderful that I'm so happy that Chef Jefferson is here today, and she's going to share with us some ways for us to make our foods more healthy. That's it for my presentation. I want to thank you. So Alex asks, what do you think about the keto diet? So I'm going to take a second to answer that question. The keto diet as presented is a popular diet and is focusing on weight loss. But there's another keto diet that's actually a therapeutic diet that you give to children on epilepsy. And it has around 90% of its calories that come from fat, right? We have to look at the long-term safety and efficacy of taking approaches that promote ketogenic approaches. I have seen some studies that show that decreasing your carbohydrate content. So I'm going to rephrase the ketogenic diet as a lower carbohydrate diet. There are some studies that have shown that lower carbohydrate diets are effective at weight management. They are effective at helping control blood sugar, but it should be well planned. It shouldn't be something that you just go on the internet and pull some stuff down from the internet. You should visit with a dietitian. You should get a full workup. Your lab values should be checked. Your blood sugar should be checked. And then it has to be planned in such a way that it's nutritionally complete. Okay. And it's going to vary from individual to individual. Okay. So the reason that the keto diet works is typically when people go on it, their overall calorie intake decreases because they decrease a lot of the sugar and refined processed carbohydrates that we typically eat. And when you have a lower overall calorie intake, you're going to end up losing weight. Okay. But you have to make sure there's adequate vitamins, minerals, there's adequate vegetables. There's a variety of vegetables so that you're getting all of your vitamins and minerals. And you have to make sure you're getting a sufficient amount of carbohydrates. You shouldn't cut carbohydrates completely out of your diet. Your brain needs around 75 grams of carbohydrate just to function optimally in a day. And studies have shown that, so there's some promise from a therapeutic perspective of the ketogenic diet. I don't think people should just start putting themselves on it. I think they should do it under the guidance of a healthcare professional. It should be planned in such a way with people who are familiar with it and can make it healthy. And then your lab values and everything should be monitored so that it can be adjusted. And it's called the macronutrient content, but that's a real technical word. But the percentages of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats can be adjusted based on how your body is responding to it. I hope I answered that question. So there's another question. Is juicing equal to fresh fruits? So Kimberly, thank you for that question. Wonderful question, because juicing. Everybody's talking about juicing. I get, and I juice at times. I used to make a smoothie after I would go walk 5 miles in the morning. I would come home and I would make me a smoothie. So I've done that before, but here's the things to think about. Juicing, when you juice something, you do get vitamins, okay? You're gonna get minerals from it. You're gonna get those nutritional values from it, but you're not gonna get the fiber that's in the fruits and vegetables. So you're losing quite a bit when you take the fiber out. The second thing is, if you're trying to manage your weight, if weight is the issue and you're trying to manage your weight, you're gonna get a whole lot of calories and sugar in juice, which is not equal to Kool-Aid. Don't get me wrong. I would rather you do the juice than the Kool-Aid any day, or juice than a soda any day. But if I drink a 16-ounce bottle of orange juice, that's like eating 4 oranges. Okay. So keep that in mind, right? So sometimes we juice and we might drink 20 ounces of juice. That's like equal to eating 5 pieces of fruit. And so if your goal is weight management and the juice, you're gonna get a lot of the calories, but you're not gonna get full. Most of us can probably drink 20 ounces of juice, but most of us probably can't eat 5 apples, you know, and not get full. So I hope that answered your question. Kimberly, thank you so much for the question. I think I'm just about out of time. It's 10:58. And thank you for your attention today. I enjoyed it. And thank you again for inviting me to speak to you this morning. Y'all have a pleasant day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Morrow. Thank you, thank you. Is there the same factor included in whole grain? I'm not sure I completely understand the question. Is there the same factor included in whole grain?
So yes, Thelma, whole grain, especially if it's soluble, the soluble fiber in whole grain, it expands when it gets in the stomach. And because it expands when it gets in the stomach, it can help with fullness. And so, yes, eating whole grain products can help you feel fuller, and that can decrease the total amount of food that you eat. Now, it's not going to be profound, right? But small, every little thing we can do to benefit helps us. So it's a similar factor in whole grain. Eating whole grain makes you feel more healthy. And I see Patricia asked a question about weight loss. I'm trying to look.
About information on losing weight. So, Patricia, are you asking like where you can get more information?
Okay, so what I'll say is some simple things to losing weight, some very simple things. And weight is very complicated because there's a lot of factors that affect your weight. You can decrease your calorie intake by quite a bit, but if you have some of these, there's some very things that can happen in your body, some hormonal imbalances and things like that, that can make losing weight very challenging and very difficult. So for about 1/3 of the population, if you just eat less, you can lose weight. That's that's 1/3 of the population. If you can just decrease the amount of foods that you're eating or the quantity of foods that you're eating, you can lose weight. So if you look at a plate, there's one of the most simplest approaches to weight management is you look at a plate, you make half your plate fruits and vegetables, like 1/4 of your plate fruits, 1/4 of your plate vegetables, 1/4 of your plate starches. So this would be grain, pasta, rice, noodles, bread, cereal, whatever. And then 1/4 of your plate protein. That's probably one of the easiest approaches to weight management. What I've noticed in my practice now, I've had an obesity management practice for around 7 or 8 years now. Maybe not that, maybe 5 years now. But what I've noticed is there are a lot of hormonal things going on with patients. And so they will decrease what they're eating. And that's the start. It all starts with decreasing what you're eating. So start there. Then increase your physical activity. However small you can start, but try to be consistent. If you can walk 5 minutes a day, walk 5 minutes a day. If you walk 10 minutes a day, walk 10 minutes a day. If you walk 15 minutes a day, walk 15 minutes a day. Those are the foundation. These are the 2 corner pieces. But some people do that and still don't lose weight. Get adequate sleep. If you're overweight, see if you have sleep apnea, because some things happen in the body with sleep apnea that if you don't address them, it's going to be a challenge, right? So if you snore or stuff like that, you want to get assessed for sleep apnea. We have to see if you have any insulin resistance going on. So if you ever get any dark creases in the folds of your body, if there's some darkness there, sometimes that's a sign of insulin resistance. The next time you go to your doctor, get your A1C levels checked, which is a thing we look at for blood sugar control. Because if your A1C is high, we have to take a certain approach to your diet, right? Because you're not processing sugars the same. Getting stress management is important for weight loss and weight management, because stress stimulates certain hormones that cause us to gain weight and keep weight. Then gut bacteria is important. So all of these things. So it's a huge picture when it comes to weight loss. And so what frustrates people is they do what we always tell them: eat right, exercise, eat right, exercise, eat right, exercise. And they don't lose weight. So they're like, what's going on? I'm eating right, I'm exercising, and I'm not losing weight. So as I said, for maybe 1/3 or so of the population, that in and of itself works. The rest of us, we have to take a more strategic and systematic approach to it when we look at sleep, when we look at stress management, when we look at anxiety management, okay? Sometimes we have to get into your gut bacteria. Sometimes we even have to look at environmental toxins, right? So start with the easy stuff. Eat better. Don't eat so much desserts and sugars and sweets. Start with some physical activity and see if that works. If those things don't work, then you probably want to go see someone like me, like a registered dietitian nutritionist, who can help you figure out what is your challenge by running certain tests on you, and then design a plan to help you lose weight based on what we find. Okay, sorry, that was a long answer.
Well, it's a hard question, and it's a question that we all sort of want to know and be able to keep up with. So thank you so much, Dr. Morrow. I sincerely appreciate your time sharing with us and talking to us about this very important topic. And the senior citizens over at Wharton also want to thank you. Now for us to practice a little bit of what we have preached today, I would like to introduce everybody to Chef Shonah Jefferson, who began her culinary career at the tender age of 11 by helping her dad at his local Houston restaurant. After spending many years in business and as a practicing attorney, she returned to her culinary roots by managing the family restaurant for a few years while obtaining a degree in culinary arts from San Jacinto College. Shauna has always had an interest in giving back to others, because to whom much is given, much is required. Being a Chefs for Seniors owner and personal chef gives her an opportunity to do well by doing good and combine her love of people, business, and culinary arts. She and her team of talented chefs serve the seniors of the North and Southeast Houston metro areas. Shauna attended the University of Texas at Austin, where she received her BBA in finance and a BA in Plan 2 Honors Liberal Arts. She also has a law degree from Georgia State University College of Law. Shauna has been a Chefs for Seniors franchise owner since October of 2018. I am going to go ahead and turn it over to her. Thank you so much for being with us today, Chef.
Thank you for having me. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. All right, and now I can see me. Okay, so thank you so much to Dr. Morrow for that presentation. He shared so much helpful information, and I even learned a few pointers, and so that's always good whenever you can learn some new things. So today, what I have on our menu is, in honor of Heart Month, I chose a salmon loaf with a creamy cucumber sauce. So I thought this was an interesting way, or another way, to enjoy salmon for those of us who may get a little tired of just your traditional, taking a salmon fillet and maybe sauteing it or baking it. So today, what we're going to do is make salmon loaf, which is a take on meatloaf. So this is a way to actually get your omega-3s in by eating salmon, but eating it in a different way. And it's a great addition to your menus for if you do like a fish Friday, or if you're just trying to cut back on red meat. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what I have done. The recipe calls for one 14-ounce can of boneless, skinless pink salmon. I'm not a big fan of canned salmon. I like fresh salmon. So what I've actually done here is I've actually used half a can of salmon, and then I've taken also about 6 to 8 ounces of a fresh fillet of salmon and put it in the food processor to make it into almost like a ground salmon. So I've mixed those two together, and I've also added a little bit of dried dill to the salmon as well. And then we're going to add some chopped celery, and I have a little bit of green bell pepper in here. Dr. Morrow talked about color. The great thing about this recipe, and for any loaf recipe, whether you're doing a turkey meatloaf or lean beef meatloaf, a way to add more vegetables to your diet is feel free to add vegetables to your meatloaf. So feel free to add some carrots and red bell peppers and green bell peppers. The more color, the better. So I've got the celery, the bell pepper, and then I have half a cup of chopped. These are shallots. I love shallots as opposed to regular onions. They have a more subtle flavor, and I just prefer them, but use any onion that you like. You can even use red onion to give it a burst of color. So we've got the onion, and then the recipe says either whole wheat breadcrumbs or oatmeal. So of course, listening to Dr. Morrow, the more fiber and whole grains we can get, the better. So this is actually a mixture of whole wheat breadcrumbs and oatmeal. So I'm adding those to the loaf. Then we've got half a cup of skim milk, 2 large eggs. So as you see, as I'm going through the recipe, this is just like a traditional meatloaf recipe, except made with salmon. And then some parsley, once again, more color. I did not add the jalapeno because I'm not a big fan of spice, but if you're a big fan of spice, feel free to add the jalapeno, but I am going to add some black pepper. The other thing that you can do to play with the flavor a little, Dr. Morrow talked about Mrs. Dash. Mrs. Dash comes in several different flavors. There's herb garlic, there's a Southwest flavor. Even if you can find a low sodium or no sodium version of Old Bay seasoning, feel free to add that to the salmon meatloaf as well, in addition to adding dill or any other herbs and spices that you like. So now I'm just mixing this up. And as you can see, it even has the texture of a meatloaf. So I'm going to thoroughly mix this up. Make sure everything is fully incorporated. And then I have a loaf pan here that I've sprayed with a little bit of olive oil. And we're just going to add this to the loaf pan. And then I'm going to pack it in here. And I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, so the oven is ready. And see, it makes a nice, neat loaf. So I'm going to put this on a sheet pan and put it in the oven, and you're gonna bake it for about 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm gonna set my timer for 30 minutes and then I'll check it after 30 minutes. So the next piece is to make our creamy cucumber sauce. So what I have here is some non-fat plain yogurt, and I've also added to this a little bit of garlic powder because I like garlic. So I'm gonna mix this up, and then we're gonna add, I'm using dried dill. So this is 1.5 teaspoons of dried dill. This is about half of a medium cucumber. And I've actually peeled it and finely chopped it. So adding that. And then I have some more of my shallots. Feel free also to get creative with this. If you want a little bit of sour, you can feel free to add a little bit of lemon juice or even lime juice, depending on the flavor profile that you are looking for. Okay, so this makes a great cucumber dill sauce. And of course, what I've done ahead of time is I've made some salmon loaf. And what actually I did is I'm more of a muffin girl as opposed to a loaf girl. So whenever I make meatloaf, I actually make my meatloaf in a muffin tin. One of the things that helps do is, first, it cooks faster, it cooks more evenly, and second, it helps with portion control. So this actually made, I think, 9 of these. So this is one pan that I have. And I've chosen to pair it with some wonderful roasted broccoli. So as you can see here, I've got my roasted broccoli, and I've got one of my salmon loaf muffins, and then we'll add just a little bit of the cucumber dill sauce on the side. And there you have it, a very healthy meal. You've got lots of color on that plate. You've got your broccoli, your salmon muffin, and the creamy cucumber sauce.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The muffin tin thing, I feel like you just expanded my entire universe, because I like crunchy, like sides. So I'm always trying to get the corner piece. I don't know why it never occurred to me to use a muffin pan. That is genius, actually. And then we don't have to worry about how many everybody got, because if your family's anything like mine, some of my kids like to get more than others. So we can definitely work on portions with that. I really love it. Okay.
Thank you.
Miss Evelyn, do we have a recipe that we can post for our audience?
Yes, I will be sending it to everybody.
Okay.
I'll add it on here, and then afterwards I will follow up and send it out to everybody as well.
Thank you so much. That was super easy and very doable. And I'm definitely going to try that one probably this week.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, can I ask a question on the broccoli? How did you roast it? You just kind of...
I just added a little olive oil to it and a little pepper. And then you can, to boost the flavor, you can also add some garlic powder, some onion powder, any other seasonings or spices that you like. And then preheat your oven to 400 degrees and put the broccoli on the sheet pan and roast it until it reaches your desired color. I like mine with a little bit of brown crispy bits on it. And just a hint about cooking broccoli. The worst way to cook broccoli is to boil it, because what you end up doing with broccoli in particular, all of the nutrients end up in the water. So it's best to actually steam your broccoli or to roast it. So I love roasted broccoli. Broccoli actually has kind of a natural sweetness to it that you don't notice until you roast it. So that's my go-to way to eat broccoli. And it's really quick because you just chop it up, add the oil, put it in the oven, and then for 15 minutes, you can move on to something else.
Thank you so much. Yes, I didn't know that. And I don't like the aftermath of the boiled broccoli in the house either. So I am definitely going to switch to roasting as well. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming and doing this for us and giving us all these pointers that will help us cook, because I think just putting together what Dr. Morrow talked about and what you've shown us, really to be able to truly be able to control what we eat, we have to cook. You know,
Yes.
we have to figure out how to make it at home. So thank you so much. And you're
My
getting
pleasure.
a thank you from our group as well. Thank you. All right. Evelyn, do I turn it over to you or should I continue?
Let me share my screen, start the video. Let me see where I'm at.
All right. Ms. Cassis is the program coordinator for the Community Engagement Core for the Center for Biomedical and Minority Health Research. So she does everything that you see here behind the scenes and keeps us in line and keeps us in check and keeps us on point. So I'm going to turn it over to her to close us out. Thank you all so much.
Let me see. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay. So lastly, thank you all so much for coming. We hope you enjoyed our presentation, and don't forget to try the yummy recipe. I'm going to be emailing it to you all, and I dropped it in the chat box as well. I'm also going to leave a survey link on the chat box so that you all can fill out our survey. Our survey pretty much gives us a better understanding of what you all want to see, and just a little bit of feedback so we can better our future presentations. Also, I would like to invite you all to our Clinical Research and Engagement Conference coming up on April 23rd at 9:30 a.m. We have great topics planned, many discussions. So we hope to see you all there. I'm also going to include a pre-registration link in the chat box along with the email that I'm going to send afterwards, so you all can pre-register and start getting ready for that as well. And lastly, don't forget to follow us on social media at CEC Texas Southern U. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I would like to thank you all so much for coming again. Thank you, Dr. Ndefo, Chef Shonah, and Dr. Morrow. Thank you, everyone.